Harris and Eric Decker yesterday. What is the plan here?
The plan is to rebuild with young players, to have competition at every position from players who are hungry to be in the National Football League, quite frankly. And the plan is to rebuild this thing so it can be sustained for years to come. I know some of that is almost cliche with teams that are on losing skids. The Jets haven't had a winning back-to-back season since 2009-10. So it's been a long time. And they do think they have some of the pieces in place. Jamal Adams will have to lead the way. They will count heavily on Leonard Williams, who's a terrific defensive lineman. Obviously, he can't do it by himself. But the Jets are very much in a rebuilding mode. We are going to build this thing up and then find a way to make it work. It's going to be difficult, though, and they know it. At Florham Park, they know this is going to be a rough ride.
Judy, can you rebuild a team without veterans on the roster, though?
Well, look, let's be real about this. This is probably something, Kim and I were discussing this before, that they should have done 2 years ago when Maccagnan and Bowles first arrived. Then they had the 10-win season. They fell just short of the playoffs, and I think that gave them false hope. They overvalued what they had. They thought they were close, and they weren't close. And so now they are starting later than they should. It puts Bowles in a very difficult position.
Very difficult.
Very tough spot. It's going to be a very rough year. I mean, I get your point about veterans, but let's face it, they were not going to win a whole lot of games whether Harris and Decker were on the roster this year or not. Those were not the breaking points. So better to just move on, get all of the veterans out of there, and get the young guys on the field.
It's like a giant flush.
Right. Just start over.
Or as we like to say here, an enema going on up there at Florham.
You like to say that.
I get so much pleasure out of watching Kim and Judy talk about this that I'm reluctant to weigh in on.
That is a lie.
On Team Tank.
Not on any topic.
Team Tank. But Judy, I'm not sure it's better. I get why it's better, and I said yesterday I think they're Woody Johnson, and make no mistake, this is owner-driven. Woody Johnson's role models right now are the Cleveland Browns, who tore it all down, got the #1 pick. And as we know, next year there's a very strong quarterback class rumored to be coming out. I would just say this. At the SC-UCLA game next year, the Jets might have about 15 people scouting that game. But listen, Bill Polian, who I seldom agree with publicly, brought up something late last season and again recently about tanking, because we see it in basketball, and the lottery kind of, protects against that, where one player can be transformative. And Bill Polian said the Browns were doing it last year, and he thinks the Jets are doing it now. And he said it's different than basketball in that there's also a player safety issue to consider. You could be terrible, but at some point, guys are subjecting themselves to injuries against very, very skilled players. So I hope that this tanking thing is not becoming a trend, because I think the Jets are blatantly doing it. I don't think Todd Bowles survives it. I think if Bruce Arians retires in Arizona, that Todd Bowles could very easily work his way back there next year.
Well, Cook, let's make this transition. Is Todd Bowles on the hot seat? Is this something he can survive to see this rebuilding process?
I think if Woody Johnson is on board with this, which he clearly is, then I think there have to be assurances given to Bowles and Maccagnan that they're okay.
Nobody survives. It's very rare to survive 1 in 15 when you've been hired. Hugh Jackson did taking over, but when you've been at 9 and 7, is that what Todd was his first year, which was a great coaching job?
10 and
it's very tough, especially in New York.
Here's
Woody Johnson may mean well right now.
I think Woody's doing this, though, because he believes in those two guys. Maccagnan on the personnel side, the general manager. Todd Bowles as a coach who has admitted he has to be more involved in the locker room. At the OTAs that I attended, Todd Bowles spent the entire time with the offense. We know his background is on defense. Todd Bowles has a quarterback competition. I would not be surprised about a couple of things, guys. Marcus May, the second-round pick, Jamal Adams, the first-round pick. I believe they will be day-one starters. I believe they will be key people in this defense, along with Leonard Williams. There is a question right now, who would call the defense? That's a really good question. We actually don't know that answer, and I do believe Christian Hackenberg starts the season. Don't believe everything you hear on that. The coaches like him more than it is being portrayed by the outsiders.
I say October for Hackenberg.
I have two concerns. Can you get a fair read on what Hackenberg is when he's going to have so little surrounding him? And how do the fans feel about this? And what's it going to be like late season when it's cold and they're not at the game?
Remember, new OC coming into that
That's right.
place as well.
And how does the fan reaction influence what Woody Johnson is thinking?
Here's why I ask. rebuilding without veterans in the locker room. Maybe these aren't the right veterans to help rebuild. Maybe they want to bring in some others. But if young players, if they go through a 1-15 season, guess what they're learning to do? They're learning to lose. And we have seen it. I've just went through a couple seasons with the Rams. Young players without proper veteran guidance have only learned one thing and one way how to do it, and that's to lose, and to lose trying to play well. This year they go in, they bring in an Andrew Whitworth. They bring in some veteran players who have won, who can lead in the locker room. That's why I'm asking, if this Jets team goes through a tanking season, a 1-15, they learn bad habits, they get sour in that locker room. You know that locker room had some issues last year, selfishness and things like that. Maybe those guys are gone.
They are betting on the young players they've brought in versus the veteran players the previous regime brought in. That's the best I can say it quickly.
Do you think that they might bring in, though, a couple, just some training camp veterans who might be able to come in and...
I don't know why they bother.
I think Josh McCown is the veteran.
He's the
one
veteran
of the veterans that
He's
you
a
count
good guy.
on.
Wants to be a coach.
Coaching type. I think he